you talk to me.
Well, I think where we left off, I know the whole Master P thing, I know we, like, touched on that.
Okay.
What happened with Master P?
Okay. In the early days, let me go back. In the early days, C did tons and tons of work for Master P. And,
Beats?
Beats. Yeah, he did a lot of beats. He gave them hooks, too, you know. And, because they used to come down here. And that's at the Sanjak house. When C first started, they were doing that. There was a little friction between them when we were, one of the times when we had a place in Houston, and P was operating at that time out of Baton Rouge. And he wanted them to do, C to do a track, and them to do a song, you know, together. I'm thinking that's got to be Break 'Em Off something, maybe, at that time. But anyway, C already had a project for that night. And he called me early in the morning, and he wanted them to come. And I said, well, can't do it because C has a project.
Master P called you.
Yeah. And I said, he's got a project. He's got to be in the studio at 6. And C happened to be in the apartment when I was talking to him. Which I didn't really know C was in the apartment. I would have, you know, read my conversation. But I said, well, we just can't do it, but we can come tomorrow. And he said, well, his words were, well, their shit ain't going to get played. Mine is. And I said, well, their money is just as green as yours. So you either want them tomorrow or you don't want them at all. And he said something back to me, and I said, well, fuck you then. Okay, and she heard this conversation going on, and he's like, who's that you talking to? I said, oh, and I'm looking at, I said, oh, that was just some business, you know, and he said, who's that you talking to, Mama? And I said, well, it was P. I said, but it's no problem. He'll call back.
I mean, you said fuck you like in a half joking manner?
No, I meant that because he had come back at me pretty tough, like, well, you know, if they don't come today, you know, and I'm like, well, because that's the way,
like a threat.
Yeah, that's the way he is. That's the way he is. I don't know if that's the way he still is, but that's the way he was. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I'm like, well, we won't come at all. And so then,
you want them to come to Baton Rouge? To
Baton Rouge, and he wanted us to fly.
Remember who you had the commitment with?
No, it was a
indie artist.
Indie artist. He was right. I never heard it again. It was a good song, but I never heard it again. Anyway, but the people had been very nice to us. You know, I had invited them in, and we had dinner. They had taken C to dinner a couple of times, and C really liked the little kid, and he was really going to try to work with him. And anyway, their money was green, and they had already paid their money. It wasn't they were waiting for C to go to the studio. They brought their money first.
Right. What was he doing beats for around that time?
If I'm thinking it was, I think he got 10 because it was 5 and 5. You know, and
Master P was paying him around that same.
Yeah, he was paying the same thing, and so C heard that, and he got in like that. But anyway, like I said, P's money was just as green. Mm-hmm. So I said, don't worry about P. He does that all the time. I was used to dealing with him. I said,
So that wasn't even the first?
No. I said, he'll call back. I said, give him an hour, and he'll calm down, and he'll call back. When he realizes that I'm not going to call him back because we are not going to Baton Rouge today. Right. And so she got kind of, you know, irritated, but he calmed down.
That you said fuck you? Or?
No, irritated that P and I would go at each other like that sometimes. Anyway, he did call back. It was only a half an hour. He called back and we hooked it up. We had another argument because he wanted for us to fly. Pops was with us that time. He wanted for us to fly to Baton Rouge. And I'm like, that's stupid. By the time we go all the way out, he was going to fly us out of Intercontinental. We're on the south side of town. gonna take us an hour to get out there. You got to be there an hour and a half ahead of time. Look, when you can go to Baton Rouge in 5 hours. So I'm like, no, and then all that hassle of flying. I said, no, we're going to drive, but we'll be there tomorrow. And we did, you know, and so then he didn't want to go because he was mad. And I said, well, sorry about that, we need the paper, so let's hustle up and go. I called Bun, and Bun said, oh, man, y'all at it again? I said, yeah, you know how we do, because we would do that all the time. And we went, and, you know, thus and so. But that was a little thing, and
You guys, Bun went too? Or
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Needed the verse and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. And I could tell.
The 10 was for like a whole song, not just.
Yeah, it was a whole song. But I could tell that while we were there, you know, that he was standoffish. You know, he did the work, and he could do his best work when he was pissed off. So he did the work because he wanted to get it done and leave. You know, but we ended up staying 2 or 3 days because he ended up doing a lot of work. But he did that, but I could tell, you know, that there was that little thing. And I, for the life of me.
You remember what record that was?
I'm thinking it was Break 'em Off something. I'm really thinking it was Break 'em Off something.
Do you remember, was it like his studio, like his home studio?
It was at the big studio. It was on Interstate 10, right on Interstate 10. There was the Albertsons across the street, and his bank was across the street that way, and he had that big office. And the Residence Inn, it's changed names now, but there was a Residence Inn right next door, and that's where we stayed. And we were there for 2. But I'm thinking, she did 2 songs. Break 'em Off something, I think, was one. Because you recall, after that, and after that song, after they made that song, she used to always say that used to be the last song we would do in the show. And he would say, I took my song back. And, you know, that was when I did it, I took my song back. and claimed it, you know. But anyway, that was the way. And then what happened that there was, you know, they were always like battling a little bit, you know.
He was there at the studio?
Yeah, oh yeah. He was always there. He had to say, you know, like Pop say, sound like he was on the toilet. And we used to laugh about that. I would tell him that to his face, too. Hey, boy, you going to do that toilet stuff again tonight? And we would all go to the studio, you know, because he had clean studio and all that good stuff. But it was, after that, I don't know, it was a kind of little friction, and they were always kind of battling. You know, it was, well, actually, P never knew how to talk to people. That was not one of his strong parts. And then that would piss C off. And then they would go back and forth, you know, with that. And, but yet he would always call back, and we would always do the work. You know, and that started from the very beginning, even when he was coming here to the Sanjack house. It was kind of that kind of rat-tat-tat. They were kind of like oil and water. They really didn't mix very well. They worked well together, but you should just put them in a place and let them work and then separate them instantly. Because they didn't have the kind of personalities that exactly went together. See, you know, that was arrogant. And, you know, and then P had this, you know, you're going to do what I want to do attitude, and that is not the way to get C to do stuff. Yeah. You know, so, then, isn't it though? And what really happened with the big problem, we were in Mississippi, Alabama, probably Alabama.
And this is like months later or weeks later?
Yeah, this is like probably a couple of years later.
Right.
And I can't remember. I'll have to find out. I'll ask Rand. But anyway, something went down, and he called me, and he was angry about something, and I was trying to help him with it. I don't remember what it was, and he just went ballistic and started cursing and cutting up and just
something about a verse. Or
it wasn't anything about. I don't. You know what? I'm gonna have to remember. I'm gonna have to really remember what it was. But
so you just happened to be doing a show that night.
Yeah, when we were doing it, it wasn't with him.
Yeah.
He called me, and one of the guys, a couple of the guys, not C, happened to be in the room. And since I was doing something at the time, I had the phone on speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I regret that for the rest of my life, that I had that phone on speaker, and I was just saying, well, baby, we can work it out. I'll help you with it, blah, blah, blah. And he just went ballistic. Mm-hmm. And those nuts, I couldn't catch them in time.
He was cursing you out? Or?
Yeah, he was, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to explain to C. He wasn't really cursing me. Mm-hmm. He was just cursing. Like, like I do all the time. Mm-hmm. And I know I do it. I'm not, when I say, I don't know what that motherfucker was doing, I'm not cursing you. Mm-hmm. I'm just cursing.
Right.
Okay? And that was the case. But the way the guys took it back to C.
And these were like bodyguards?
Yeah. Crew members, and that he was cursing me, and he really wasn't. But then by the time they got to see that I couldn't explain to see he wasn't cursing me, honey. Mm-hmm. It would be like if you would say, I was trying to explain to him where'd that motherfucker go. Mm-hmm. I said that was the way, you're not cursing me, that's the way we talk sometimes. Right. And he was like, no, he wasn't know it. Well,
it was mad.
Give me one little inch, and there it went. And so that's when he got on stage that night at the end of the show, led the chant. Fuck Master P. I mean. And
the whole club was doing it?
Julia was at an arena. It wasn't a club. Wow. It wasn't a 50,000 people arena, but it was an arena. Oh, yeah, 5,000 probably. It was over 1,000. Mm-hmm. And I'd say somewhere, let's say 2 or 3, to be conservative. Mm-hmm. Because you could look up and see people all,
So did he give an intro, or he just said fuck Master P, or?
No, he gave an intro. Come on now, see that. Hey, look at here. It went somewhere. Hey, look at here. I want to tell y'all about a whole ass nigga. And then I want y'all to repeat after me. Now, this nigga cussed my mom. Like, God knows he didn't go there. And I'm like, see, and I'm trying to grab him and see, whenever C was going to do something like that or anything that he knew I would try to stop him, he got way away from me. Mm-hmm. And, I never wanted to come out on the stage. I was always on the stage, but I was in the back. And I never wanted to get even that far from where I was. Mm-hmm. He knew that. And so he knew I wouldn't just go out there. And then he started the chant. All right, repeat after me. Fuck Weslyn. And it was rattling. It was so loud. Uh-huh. And I'm like, oh my God.
People weren't like, what happened, or they.
No, they were. This was Pimp C talking, Norland. Yeah. When Pimp C talked, people listened. When Pimp C do it, they did it. Mm-hmm. They did it. And I'm like, you damn fools don't even know what you chanting about. But this is the end of the show. Everybody been smoking something. Yeah. Everybody been sipping something. Mm. So that's the way it was. That was before the days when you couldn't smoke in the arenas and all this kind of stuff. It had a cloud in that booger that thick. Hey, you could get a contact guy in there. So it was that started, the thing, and then.
So somebody actually came to his hotel?
Yes.
That night?
No, it wasn't that night. It was probably a couple of months again.
So obviously P heard about what he said.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is he doing this like every show? Or is it just
oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He did it at Chocolate Town in Houston. P was living in Houston at the time. Okay? But then he went on back to Atlanta, and I thought they had talked. Or they had talked. But then I think for some reason, because P had actually stopped. And then
So he did it like twice or like a bunch?
Oh, he did everywhere he went.
For a couple weeks.
Let's say a couple weeks. And he went a lot of places in a couple of weeks. Probably 3 weeks actually. Maybe 4, I don't know. But I know they had talked, and he called P and told P, you know, my mama told me that's not the way that went down. And you know, man, I shouldn't have gone off like that. And, you know, I thought everything was cool. Well, I think we were doing, that was one of the problems with Ridin Dirty. That's why Ridin Dirty took so long, because we were doing Ridin Dirty. And C was in Houston to do some more work on Ridin Dirty with N.O. And I called him that day. And, well, we were living in an apartment, that's right. He left to go shopping. And I called him and I said, baby, I think I want to go home today. I'm going to go home. I said, do you need me? And he said, no. We were laughing. He said, no. Because, you know, God got me that room out there. I might as well just go and do that, Mama, you know. I'll be back by the time you get back.
Room as in a hotel room?
Hotel room, yeah. Yeah. But we had a place in Houston. Anyway, it was just a horrible, nothing went right. He was supposed to stay downtown, don't remember the name of the hotel, and they were overbooked. And so, they didn't call me. Job didn't call me, they called him and asked him what his second choice was. And he said Residence Inn. And they put him at the Residence Inn in Sugarland. I never would have put him out there because I knew that's where P was. And I really never would have sent him out there. But then I didn't know.
That's where he lived? Or? Yeah,
that's where he was living then. And so he went out there, and
he didn't know that he lived there, or didn't care?
He didn't care. See, you know, he knew, but they sent in. When he got the address, he went on out there. He knew where that one was because we knew where that one was. We had stayed at that one before. I didn't like that one anyway, but he went on out there and he called me and said that they had changed his hotel and it was a Residence Inn. And I said, well, that's cool, but I didn't ask him where it was because I assumed it was one of them that we usually stayed at. There was one downtown. And so I didn't ask, and I had already gotten back to PA by that time. And we had gone to bed. It was about 11:30 when Ram called and said, from Atlanta. Ram was his engineer. And he said that C was hurt. And that I said, hurt? I was thinking car accident. And then he told me what had happened, that they had kicked the door in. And, well, hell, they pistol whipped. P pistol whipped. It was P himself. It wasn't the dudes. But there were 5 of them. There were 5 of them. But they were just holding him. P was doing the work. And so, C didn't want me to see him. I didn't actually see him. I saw the pictures, though, but I didn't see him. And so I called Red Boy. And I told Red Boy what was going on.
So he was by himself and they just came and kicked the door in the middle of the night?
And I called Red Boy, and Red Boy went and got him. And took him to the hospital and put him in another hotel. And
was he seriously injured or just?
He wasn't. He had a concussion. I still think he had a couple of fractured ribs, but he was he was frustrated and he didn't want him to X-ray his ribs, but he did have a concussion. Okay, so
he's being taken to the hospital.
yeah, he went, and then he went back to ATL. He lost his inspiration for Ridin Dirty, yeah, in Houston. So we went.
So did you speak to him? What was his mood like after that incident?
He was okay. Number one, next day I took off, and it was late that night, and I wanted to go then, but Red Boy told me, Mama got it, and it's late, and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't drive all the way over there at that time of night. But the next day, I went, and again, I told him that I was coming. So when I told him I was coming, since he didn't want me to see him, because by that time, Little Red Thing had turned black and blue, and, and head was swollen, and he didn't want me to see him. And so he took a plane back to Atlanta.
Like a male pride kind of thing? Or
yeah, I think so. So he went on back to Atlanta, and I missed him. And so I stayed there a while, and I kept talking to him, but he was just kind of, I was wanting him to get started back on the
was
music.
he pissed, or was he upset? Or?
He was strange. He was pissed, yes. And I think he was hurt. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was really hurt that he would do that. He felt like, if you want to come at me one-on-one. And, you're going to, look at P and look at him at that time. You're going to beat me half to death anyway. I don't fight. But don't come at me with niggas holding me down. And, it was that kind of thing. And he was really hurt about that. That really hurt him badly. And it took him a minute, like a good 4 months to come out of it.
To get back to recording?
To get really, I went up there after a couple of weeks. I gave him time to, heal some, and then I went up there, but he was still in a lot of pain, and he was, his head wasn't really right to do music. I just told, I called Barry myself and just told him, look, leave him alone for a minute. I'm going to be up here and cook for him and play with him and stuff like that, and then he'll come back. And so he did. He came back home with me, and he stayed here a minute, and then, stop, little boy. Oh, you're so rotten. I'm going to put you out again.
So did things ever get settled with Master P?
Yeah, they settled it out. Matter of fact, when C came home from jail, he may have been maybe the 4th or 5th person that called that evening.
Master P called?
When we got back.
And how did that go? How did that conversation go?
It obviously went well. Just like for all those kind of calls, he took the phone and went in the game room, and and he came back with a smile. So, and I do know that they were planning to do some more work.